meeting is being recorded.
So I'll just play this from the start. So welcome everyone. This is Taslima Alam. I'm just hosting the presentation that actually is really the platform for Professor Mohammad Ghosheh, and I wanted to welcome Professor Mohammad to join us today. Thank you so much. I'm just going to mute that. So today's talk, it's actually part of a course that I've designed around the sacred sacred sites in Islam. So we start with the Kaaba, Al-Mukarramah, then Medina, and then we feature the AlAqsa complex and the Dome of the Rock. And then we do a final tour at Masjid Ibrahim in Hebron, which I didn't know that was where Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi wasallam's grave is actually, along with some of the other prophets. So that was an interesting discovery. But today is really about the treasures of Al-Aqsa. It's a book, and actually I think it's if I'm right to say this, it's actually a lifetime's research by the esteemed Professor Mohammad, and I'm really honored to actually host this talk as well. So you can see the images here. I'm just going to, this is just an aerial view. I mean, it's such a stunning, iconic image in itself from a very, even from a non sort of sacred point of view, even from a secular point of view. I just wanted to say, who is Professor Mohammad Ghosheh? Well, actually, when I started doing the research, I was quite blown by your achievements. So you were born into the Ghosheh family, which have a 400 years lineage in Jerusalem. Professor Mohammad is also a doctor of philosophy, an art historian, a teacher of Islamic art and architecture. He is a multi-award-winning scholar for academic and scientific excellence. He is the author, correct me if I'm wrong, I think 24 volumes of the Encyclopedia Palestynica, and I have a feeling it's expanding as you add more stuff. He is the author of 74 volumes of work focusing on Jerusalem and Palestine, and he was the youngest historian entered into the Guinness Book of Records at 15 years. One of the main things he will talk about today is actually the Treasures of Al-Aqsa Mosque. It's a 3-volume compendium he has written, and it's quite fascinating because it's a documentation of all the art and heritage of that complex. So bibliography and awards. At 15 years, as I mentioned, he was the youngest historian in the Guinness Book of Records for writing the glorious Jerusalem through history. In 1989, at 17 years. I'm really sorry, Professor, but it gives away your age, but that's okay. I think it's an incredible accomplishment. OICC, the award for architecture and city planning, you were awarded that. Then you had the Abdul Majid Shoman Prize for Jerusalem. Then in 2020, King Faisal Prize, the highest prize for arts and architecture. And in 2021, you set up your own publishing house, the Arab Heritage. And I've sourced Al Jazeera for all this information because you were interviewed by them. Al Jazeera describes the work as unprecedented documentation of history. So that's quite an achievement. This is a quote from you, and please tell me if this is correct. I was a child younger than 10 years old when I signed letters to my sister who is studying medicine at Cairo University with the title of historian. And I set my goal from the beginning and succeeded in it despite the obstacles. Professor Ghosheh has paved the way for restoration down to the minutest detail for the future. So this is hugely significant, actually, that this piece of work has been done. And here's a little image of the books. I don't have all the images. It's difficult to find. Not too difficult, but I didn't want to. I thought that the professor would actually introduce his work. So I'm going to hand that over. And towards the end, I'll just talk a little bit about the course that we are, this is going to be part of. So if you want to know more and learn more about the art and the design of the Al-Aqsa complex, then that might be of interest to you. But here we go. I think that's the end of my slideshow. And Professor, I'm now going to hand over to you so you can share screen now. And welcome to everyone who's joined while I was talking away. So over to you now, Mohammed.
Good morning, and thank you very much, Taslima, for your kind words. It's an honor for me to be today with you in this lovely morning from Jerusalem, talking about my journey to Jerusalem and Palestine through my lifetime and my works, the latest works and previous works of Palestine and Jerusalem. I will start sharing the screen. Is everyone can see the?
Yes.
Okay. This is the title of my presentation today, The Treasures of the Aqsa Mosque and My Journey with Jerusalem and Palestine. I was born in Kuwait. You can see now the second slide.
Yes, clearly.
Okay.
Sorry.
Taslima, we can't hear you.
Sorry, I muted myself. I was just going to say, if you go up to slideshow on the orange bar, slideshow, and then hit play, you can actually, it'll show up in the whole screen. So can you do that? If you use your cursor and go up to the orange bar where it says slideshow. Yes, your cursor just a little bit further up to where on the orange on the top.
He's shy a little bit. He doesn't want to appear on the screen.
Oh, you
and
can.
I'm not friendly with this technology.
Okay.
I'm a historian.
Sorry, can I jump in? Can I jump in? There's an easier way. Right next to the volume, right next to the volume button at the bottom. So go all the way to the bottom of the PowerPoint slide. Can you see the little slide going across for the volume? That's the one exactly where it is. If you click on that, it will automatically go into slideshow.
Yes.
And when you want to get out, want to get out, just press escape.
Yeah, this is what you ask for, right?
Yes. Yeah. So it's much clearer now.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I was born in Kuwait in 1972, and Kuwait was a lovely country. It's a warm country, and this is my picture when I was 3 years old in Kuwait. Then I succeeded to travel to Jerusalem for a visit when I was also 3 years old with my mom. And this is my picture in the platform, the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. I'm very happy in this picture. And this is my picture with my mother, my late mother, Allah yarhamha, the Aqsa Mosque. Jerusalem lived in my heart and my feeling. And when I was 15 years old, I wrote my first book about Jerusalem. This is an old picture for me. I was 15 years old, carrying my manuscript with me and the title before publishing the first volume. Then I registered in Guinness as the youngest historian in the world, published about Jerusalem. This is my picture when I was 15, and this picture was installed in my book. And this is the page or the front cover of the book, القدس الشامخة عبر التاريخ, the mighty history of Jerusalem, the glories of Jerusalem through history. My first lecture was in Abdul Hamid Shuman Foundation in 1987. And this is my first presentation with Dr. Asad Abdul Rahman. It was my first experience speaking to 500 audience. And this is my picture in Ankara when I won the International Prize of the Islamic Organization of Cities and Capitals about the Islamic Architecture and City Plan. I was 15 years old, and the other winner was in 94 years old, Professor Oktay Aslan. He was the chief of the Turkish historians. The second book was Jerusalem Gates. It was published by Abdul Hamid Shuman Foundation and introduced by the historian of Jerusalem, the late Kamel Al-Asali. And this is my picture with the foreign minister of Ankara of Turkey, Murat Qarra Yelchin, and he's carrying my second book, Gates of Jerusalem. And that was in his house when they gave me the prize. My dad, my late dad, Allah yarhamu, is on my left hand. I traveled then, when I was 20 years old, I traveled to Morocco to give a speech and a presentation in an international conference about Jerusalem with the Christian and Muslim dialogue. And you can see sitting beside me the historian of Jerusalem, Kamel Al-Asali, and Emil Habibi, the very famous writer, Palestinian writer. And this is while I was giving my speech in Morocco. I traveled to Jerusalem in 1993, and I got this picture with Robert Chick, the famous American historian and archaeologist, and my late friend Fahmi Al-Ansari in his library in Jerusalem. And I started from that day my survey in the old city of Jerusalem and the surrounding areas. When Kamel Al-Asali passed away, I wrote a book about his works, and this is the book. Then I published my MA thesis about the Saadi quarter of Jerusalem, and I made the first survey for this quarter containing architectural, historical, and archaeological studies. In 2006, I won the prize of Abdul Majid Shuman International Prize for Jerusalem, and these two volumes we published in Istanbul by Ersika. I wrote both volumes about the endowments, the Islamic and Christian endowments of Jerusalem, and these volumes published in 2009, 3 years after the manuscript was done. Then in 2009, I wrote two volumes, one of them about the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and the other about the Aqsa Mosque compound. And we launched both volumes in Amman. In 2010, I finished this pictorial encyclopedia in 5 volumes about Jerusalem Remembered, about the pictorial history of Jerusalem during the Ottoman period, British Mandate period, and Jordan period. And this encyclopedia contained 9,000 pictures with detailed captions. 90% of these pictures were unpublished. And this is the encyclopedia in one of the bookstores in Amman. Today it's out of print. And these are some examples from pictures that I have published in the encyclopedia, Jerusalem Remembered. In 2012, I have succeeded to publish one of my most beautiful my beautiful and important works about the Dome of the Rock. During the time between 2008 and 2012, I was working, my survey was started, and I was working on picturing and drawing the Dome of the Rock in architectural survey. And I wrote this comprehensive work about the Dome of the Rock. The book size was around ½ meter size, every single page. And as you see in this picture, every single monument element in the Dome of the Rock was documented. This is the front cover of the book. And this is the size of the book, as you see how big it was, and it was really amazing work containing architectural, historical, and archaeological survey about the Dome of the Rock. In 2014, I wrote this volume about the Aqsa Mosque compound. So I did not focus only about the Dome of the Rock, but I have succeeded to work about the whole compound of the Aqsa Mosque, and I wrote about the Aqsa Mosque building, Al-Musalla Al-Qibli, the Dome of the Rock, the Dome of the Chain, the Musalla Al-Marwani, and all other monuments inside inside all this Islamic compound, the Haram Sanctuary or the Aqsa Mosque. And this is a picture of my book in Al-Sharjah University Library, how they respect this work and where they put my book in. In 2019, I succeeded to print my largest work about Palestine, Encyclopedia Palestinica, in 24 volumes. And this work was described as the most important work about academic work about Palestine in the last century. The book was the introduction of the book was written by His Royal Highness Prince Hassan of Jordan, and the encyclopedia contained 24 illustrated volumes with 7,000 pictures. The volumes divided into several topics. For example, the encyclopedia contained, as you see in these are the titles or the covers of the 24 volumes. You can find the documents, you can find the pictures, the illustrations, the maps, the drawings, and every details about Palestine during the Ottoman period. And this is the scene or the picture of the encyclopedia from the launching day, where I did in Amman in 2019. These are the four boxes of every single Palestinica, or every single set. So every set contains four boxes, and we usually deliver the boxes all over the world by DHL or by AlAqsa. So the Palestinica started to reach everywhere and all over the planet. So this is a picture for the Palestinica in Kuala Lumpur, and Pope Francis blessing the Palestinica in the Vatican. And these are in many libraries in all over the world. The Palestinica started to take its place in UK, in America, in Africa, in Asia, everywhere. Okay, in 2020, I have won the award of King Faisal Prize. It was the most important thing I did in my life. And these are the pictures of the winners. My picture beside Michael Carter, Stewart Orkin, and Mr. Wang, Dr. Wang. And that was a great honor for me to win this international prize, which usually they call it as the Islamic Nobel, because 90% of the winners usually they got Nobel Prize. And this is my picture when I had won the prize in Saudi Arabia and Riyadh 2 years ago. 2 years ago also I captured this picture. My son, he took this picture for me, trying to carrying my volumes some of my volumes that I did in my life. And these are on right hand and left hand are the volumes I published about Jerusalem and Palestine. In 2021, I established a foundation to document Palestine and to publish the books about Palestine and Jerusalem, to support the scholars in publishing their works. Arabian Heritage was started to publish the books. And this is one I will show you, just my books, not my colleagues' books that I have published for them. But this is Falastin al-Jamila, Beautiful Palestine, or the Beauty of Palestine, in the library of Leonard and Landrock. And this is the Treasures of Palestine. All these are my books. And this is the road from Jaffa, between Jaffa and Jerusalem in the late Ottoman period. And this is the Inscriptions of Jerusalem by Max van Berchem. I wrote this. This is a very nice book, which I wrote after 100 years of the death of Max van Berchem, who documented the Arabic inscriptions of Jerusalem. And this is my book about the road between Haifa and Jerusalem, the journey of Emperor Wilhelm II, the German Emperor Wilhelm II, to Palestine in 1898. And this is also Pictures Palestine, or Falastin al-Khallaba, in the heritage of Charles Wilson, 1876 to 1882. And this is Al-Quds al-Khalida. This is Jerusalem as documented by August Salzman, who was the fourth photographer, visited Jerusalem and captured pictures for Jerusalem in 1854 to 1856.